Okay, for the sake of time, I'll start my speech in three, two, one. Let's look at opening government's case, right? Their whole case deals about A, like effect on society, like what's been good for society in general, innovation, and so on. And B, they look at outliers, like how people have performed over time. Like, oh, you have Picasso, you have like these great artists, they did a lot of work. It would be bad if they had romantic fulfillment. See how ridiculous that sounds, right? Just because someone was important to like development of an art, does that mean that they shouldn't have like romantic fulfillment as the primary source? That's problematic in that general sense, because you can see a lot of artists, for example, Newton, in this case, right, who died like miserably towards the end, who were unloved, and for oftentimes struggled despite that, right? Like the whole idea of these people performing well was often at times they didn't have romantic love, they spent their energy on these things, and often at times it would have been better if they were able to get some good romantic love in life. Like, there are a lot of artists and like people who have had good romantic love as a primary source of fulfillment, and they still succeed. You can still succeed in your other ventures despite it not being a primary source of fulfillment, right? Like, that's not the case. The whole case here is based on the idea that human needs a hierarchy, right? We tend to do well with prioritization. When we have like a hierarchy of things, it reduces conflict between those particular things. And also, whether you're in workplace, career, education, whatever you're doing, it's good to spike on one thing as your primary anchor, and then like branch out in those regards otherwise inside things, right? Like, even if you're doing hobbies, you're really passionate about painting and you're passionate about other things, you often at times like put one as a career goal and still enjoy to do these other things on the side, right? That would be the ideal case. So in that case, like, how do things look, right? Like, because humans need hierarchy, how should things go, right? Why do we believe romantic love should be the primary source of fulfillment, right? Understand that if you look at an average person in society, things are skewed against them when it comes to society in general, whether it's finding fulfillment through like other forms, right? So if you want to find fulfillment through your jobs, often at times it's very hard for you to rise through like the extreme sort of like odds that are pulled against you in society and find joy in that, right? I might be a really good mathematician, but I might not be able to study math in school because I'm underprivileged, right? Often at times I might have odds skewed against me, right? I might love painting, for example, but having it as my family source of fulfillment might be very hard for me because oils are expensive, like paints are expensive. I might not have the sufficient means to be able to like get to that point where I can utilize it and enjoy myself to the fullest degree, right? It's something that's not accessible to everyone. Sure, you can have other sources of primary fulfillment. It might be harder to do. Or even if it's something as similar as 9 to 5 job and you want to make it as a primary source of fulfillment, your success is very variable, because often at times success is the measure of how you find happiness, right? Like, if you're not successful, that will bring you a lot of pain in that regard, right? Like, a lot of OG's case was built on the fact that, oh, like, you might have failures, you might have heartbreaks that might hurt you in that regard, and sure, right? But understand that that's not mutually exclusive. That happens on both sides, right? You might not achieve success in the thing that you make your primary source of fulfillment, right? Often at times you're likely to fail at your workplace, you're likely to suffer through like while trying to make this your primary source of fulfillment, right? So what do you do in that regards of situation, right? How do you cope with that? Our case whole idea is built that it's more likely for you to succeed in romantic love than it is for you to succeed at your career, at your hobbies, at your other sorts of passion, right? We think the reason that can happen for the first case is A, in this situation, sure, you might be having romantic attraction to someone or like romantic love with someone that's not on the same level as you, right? But A, it's easier because it's a two-body system, right? Like, the only aspects that you need to work with is one person. Unlike their situation where you would need to like be successful at several levels with odds stacked against you would need to work with a variety of people to be able to succeed, and you'll be able to deal with them and communicate them with a higher level and still not succeed at that particular thing. Here the success depends on who you work with, right? Sure, you might suffer because of finances, because your love didn't work out, because you were not financially well, right? But I'm sure you can find someone at the same walk of life in similar situations, try again, and it's much easier to succeed at it. You can rebuild, fall in love again better than you can rebuild career. Like, if you fail at career, you spend like 10 years, 15 years of your life studying oil painting, you fail at it. It's very hard to restart and it takes a lot of effort, right? But romantic love, sure, You suffered, you didn't succeed, but you can go ahead and try to establish that norm again, right? Like you can try to find someone who's similar to you, who connects with you. And given that human social bonds are what empower human beings, are what like give them fulfillment, in the sense that even back in time, when we didn't have very complex societies, when we didn't have like these massive arts people doing, even when most of the people were just coming out, growing food or like doing poultry, they still had romantic love as a source of fulfillment. We think it can lead to adequate happiness if you anchor yourself on it. For those reasons, you can clearly see that romantic love is easier to achieve, because it's a two-body system. You can directly deal with it. There's lesser odds, there's lesser luck factors, there's lesser odds skewed against you. And B, it's easier anchor because your romantic love, sure, even if you're doing all those sort of things, you need a support system in that regard, right? Having your work as your support system is definitely not a good idea, because if you have your work as a support system, your odds, like it's not someone who will support you. Your work is not someone who will support you. When you will be oftentimes the person who will support you is someone you're romantically attached with, right? It's something that can cover, that can take care of you, that can adapt to the situation and work with you to get through the hardships in life, right? Sure, if you're struggling at work, your work will be variable all across the whole place, and will not be able to support you to the degree a human being who's adaptable will be able to do. So for these things, you can clearly see that A, romantic love is more likely to help you in a more stable way. B, it's more likely to be easier achievable for a random average person in society. And understand that a burden in this debate is not to prove that sure, romantic love should be the primary source of fulfillment for everyone. The motion says about the norm of romantic fulfillment. We think since it's better for average person to focus on that because they're more likely to achieve happiness, we believe that norm should stay. For this very reason, we are very proud to oppose.
I definitely just need to develop
Yeah,
stronger